Welcome to What Juices You, where we explore what energizes leaders and how that energy fuels performance, connection, growth. I'm Brady Wilson from Juicing, and in each episode I sit with leaders and we talk about what fuels them, what sustains them, and the lessons they've learned that can be helpful for all of us. Today, I'm really excited to have Merlin Bartel with me. Merlin is the CEO of Epic Companies, and we're going to get into that a lot more. But Merlin, welcome. Glad you're here.
Hey, good to see you, Brady. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. And it's amazing what this technology can do to help us feel like we're close to each other, just kind of sitting here talking face to face. I love it.
It's so true. So I'm going to start today with a question I've been asking leaders, literally, Merlin, for 20 years. And that question is, what juices you? So what is that thing that you wake up with in the morning? You don't have to fuel it. It fuels you. It energizes you. And it has been that thing perhaps that had been with you from a very early age or not. And sometimes there have been things that occurred in your life that were defining moments that caused that particular fuel to be the one that would sustain you for a very long journey. Sometimes that can change. But if we do go back to any of those formative stories, that's not a bad thing on this podcast.
Right.
I just want you to know. So when I thought about your business, and you can tell us a little bit about your business, but siding, roofing, windows, and especially in the aftermath of massive hailstorms in Calgary, my thinking was, how do you sustain your energy in a feast or famine business? The other thing that is of real note to me is that you have a cadre of leaders around you, and I feel like you've really created a platform for younger people to be able to step into leadership and experience things that they might not just in any other company. So those are two big stories there. But first of all, Merlin, what is it that juices you?
Yeah, I mean, there's probably more than one singular thing that I could respond to as it relates to that. But yeah, a few things that might coalesce kind of around that question. From my growing up years, I think I was always considered a very inclusive kind of a personality. Like on the playground, I would notice someone who's sitting on the sideline and needed to be invited in.
Yep.
And so early on, maybe because I felt a little bit like an underdog as well, in some ways, I always had an eye for the underdog. And now you couple that with some entrepreneurial juice, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always had an eye and a deep, deep, deep appreciation for the ability and opportunity to employ people.
Yeah.
And especially to employ people, not because they couldn't get employed somewhere else, but those that had we're a bit of the underdog in terms of culture, in terms of society, in terms of being international, whatever the case might be. And so I find it so thrilling. I don't know how many nations we employ. I think it's over 20.
Wow.
But I love walking around our different businesses and chatting with people whose first language isn't English.
Yeah.
And yet they feel like they belong. They feel like they contribute. And so, yeah, both my wife and I have mentioned this many, many times over the years. We are so humbled at the number of people whose family lives, some of them back home being outside of Canada, are positively impacted because of the employment that we're able to provide for them here in Canada. And so, like, I remember probably, what was it now? Maybe 12 years ago. We had the opportunity, the government of Canada was a little more open to allowing us to bring in what they called unskilled laborers at that point. Right now, it's hard to bring unskilled in because there's just been such an influx of immigration.
Sure.
But that was an issue about 12 years ago. I remember sitting on a Zoom call with two of my staff and interviewing 4 Filipino young lads and knowing we could hire 2 of them. Oh. And it was a weighty conversation to be able to say 2 families and extended families are going to benefit incredibly from the decision that we make.
Right.
And the other 2 are going to leave this call extremely disappointed. It felt like playing God with people's lives.
I can imagine.
Right?
Yeah.
Those two guys are still with us.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, they're still with us. One of them has moved into middle management, kind of upper management in one of our companies. And so both of them are just super, super loyal. And they have also recruited others around them, family members, community members from their community who have found their way to work in our company as well. So those are the kind of things that are so, so rewarding. Looking at them at our Christmas banquets
Oh, yeah.
is a thrill.
Well, everybody has DEI on their website, and diversity, equity, and inclusion, and it often is part of the narrative, but doesn't go too much beyond that around.
Right.
But there's a few strategic hires that might look good. What I'm hearing is it's far more part of the bedrock nature of who you are, because that's two stories, two families
Yeah.
right there. But I
Yeah.
know that there are tons of stories, as you said, over 20 nations. So is that just you? Is that your leadership team? Like, where did that come from? And why is that so important? I get you're a young guy. You see people on the playground that are being ousted or excluded, and you have a heart for the underdog. But you've created now a system of including and empowering people. So I'm assuming you didn't get a lot of pushback from those around you, who your leaders who have come alongside you. It's got to be part and parcel of what you are all about.
Yeah, I guess when you talk about DNA, everyone has values, core values. Core values, they spout them. If you're a startup company, of course you come up with just the coolest core values in the world, and probably sound the same as the ones that we have. But I think there's a big difference between stated core values and lived core values. And you don't live core values in 1 or 2 years.
Yeah.
Like, you live them over 20 years. It's I liken it a little bit to you attend a wedding and you hear the couple share their vows, and your stomach just does flip flops, and it's so exciting, and it sounds so right, and it sounds so appropriate,
Yeah.
and it's exciting, but yet when you look at someone who's been married for 40 years and is still living those values, you go, these are more than stated spoken ones. These there's sweat, blood, and tears
Yeah.
behind those values. So I think from the get go. Probably the kind of pastoral background in one of my careers before I got into business set me up to be very much about people, because that's what it's a people business.
Yeah.
And so right from the get go, I would say I was blessed to be able to recruit folks that ended up in management that were very like-minded and shared a lived value system, rather than just agreed to tick in a box of a value system that we wanted to live as a company and adhere to. And that kind of creates an environment, I think, where blessing and serving people becomes an inbred DNA type of a thing versus a conscious, intentional thing. It just becomes who you are.
Yeah.
So did that answer that question? So I think there's an evolution to this,
Yeah.
but you don't find your way into senior leadership around here if you don't value people. One of our values is passion for people. And again, it looks good on the wall, but it needs to be something that's been lived out for a while before you actually get the mandate of leading a group of folks in our business.
Yeah. Merlin, I've had a situation, and you probably have too, where you get a foreign object in your body, whether it's a piece of glass or a sliver or a piece of metal or whatever. And I found it where I had some glass and I thought I'd gotten it all out, but about a month or two later, I felt this little bump on my arm. It was just kind of scratching. All of a sudden, the piece of glass, it wants to come out now. And it's not that it wants to come out, but the body is saying, any foreign object, I will push it out. Now, I'm talking to you about this because in culture, we often can create a situation where if there is somebody who doesn't include, who doesn't value the lesser or the person who doesn't have a leg up, often our culture can actually push that person out, or they'll make it makes it really easy for them to self-select out of here because it's just so uncomfortable. I bet you've had to make some tough calls. I bet you've had to had some really difficult conversations with leaders who perhaps did not share that value. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, that's a great analogy. We talk as managers and go, in a company with strong cultures, often the company votes someone out of the organization before the manager actually has to make it public and finalize the decision.
Right.
There's a sense of that, you're voted off the island by those
Yeah.
that remain on. I remember having a very significant conversation with a leader
Yep.
who had, in his own right, run his own business for a number of years, and through a different set of circumstances found his way into our operation as a senior manager.
Yep.
And we had a very poignant conversation in my office, and he articulated, his desires, his passion, his vision for his own career, and he was very confident. He was a go-getter.
Yep.
He was full of vinegar.
Yeah.
But he said, Merlin, someday, no disrespect to you, but someday I'm going to sit in the seat that you're in. And I asked him, I said, okay, so what drives you in terms of that desire? And he said, because it's going to be so good to finally be able to be in a place where I can get people to do all the things that I want them to do for me. And I said, fundamentally, bingo, that is the diabolical opposition of what we're about here. Because the reason I like sitting in this chair is because of what I get to do for other people, not because of what I get other people to do for me. And I said, fundamentally, you probably will not survive in our business here because your approach to leadership is drastically different than mine and the ethos of and he lasted probably 6 months after that. And he's had a couple of failures in business since then as well. But so that was a very memorable moment of kind of, speaking very practically about what I think servant leadership looks like. It's an honor to be in my seat because of the change I can bring in other people's lives.
Yeah. If my memory is serving me correctly, there are a lot of times when you're strapping an apron on and you're up on a roof, you're actually doing somebody's roof. You're not a young man, Merlin, anymore, right? It's like you're not 20 anymore. But this is something that either you still love to do or that life serves you up opportunities where you go, yeah, I am definitely not above this. Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, there's a personal workout regimen in there that's also helpful and healthy, right? So we don't want to lose sight of that one. One of the phrases that I think we use around here a lot is there's just no ivory towers. Yes, leaders need to lead, and I can't lead if I'm, at sea level all the time.
Yeah.
But I think we've modeled right from the get-go that none of us are beyond picking up the tools and helping out. We're here to help each other. And so there isn't this sense that, the CEO or the senior manager of a business doesn't at times strap it on and jump in, beside all of his employees and works alongside of them. It's just a value system, I think, that's there from the get-go for us. So it's something that's very important to me, is to not lose touch of the reality. There's nothing worse, than employees going like, you don't have a clue what this business is all about. You're just sitting in your office making phone calls, golfing with bankers, et cetera, et cetera. And so then every once in a while, I like to strap it on. We do a roof giveaway campaign every year where we have 3 or 4 needy folks can't afford a roof. Okay. And so we'll give them a free roof, and then we'll recruit some of our employee base to come out together. And so some of them are like, you know what you're doing? I went, guys, I've done thousands of these. So yes, I do know what I'm doing. So
yeah, well,
but it's a value.
Just for context, I think that you've done over 40, well, not you, but your organization has done over 40,000 projects. Is that right?
Yeah, yes, and it continues to grow every year. I think that stat might be 2 years old now by now, but
yeah. Well, and here's the feast or famine part. I think it was either last year or 2 years ago, Calgary had a very significant hailstorm. We had another one this year.
We had a big one last year. That was the biggest. Last year was the biggest, 2024.
And if my memory serves me correctly, once again, that in the economy, that's a $3 billion thing. Some of that's auto, but it's definitely some of that is roofs and windows and exteriors. So
that's right.
All of a sudden, you've got work piled up for, I don't know, 1 or 2 or 3 more years or something like that. How does one lead a business where you could face the opposite? I'm assuming that there could be some famine, and maybe there have been times of that. But when it's feast, it's a dark-handed gift, because how do you staff for that? How do you manage that, et cetera? So talk a little bit about the feast and famine part of your business and how you sustain your energy in the midst of that.
Yeah, some of that is answered by the fact that we're called the Epic Group of companies. And so back in early 2012, 2011, we started the process of diversification.
Yep.
So we are fairly diversified so that it isn't as feast or famine
Okay.
as it used to be. So we more talk about running a consistent, stable business with the ability to exponentially scale quickly if the opportunity comes.
I see.
And a part of how we do that is we do have positive relationships with a lot of subcontractors. So there's a certain amount of employee hiring that we need to do to maximize opportunity.
Sure.
But where we can turn the tap off and on quite quickly is when a lot of the work is actually performed by subcontractor labor, and we're only obligated to employing them at one job at a time.
Right.
And so a lot of our sliding scale in terms of ability to do volume is by partnering with the right kind of subcontractor crews who understand that they get paid better by being what we call in the wild versus being in the zoo, which is being an employee of our group of companies for 3 square meals a day and a bed at night and a consistent paycheck. So that we do pay a premium, but then we also have the luxury of disconnecting from them if we don't have work for them.
Sure.
So that we scale substantially through outside labor force. We have to also scale with employees. That is difficult. And so we try to feather that out, and we're going to be okay. Calgary, Alberta gets enough hailstorms and gets enough of these spikes that we do sometimes make a conscious decision to carry wage throughout the winter months.
I see.
And throughout a season to be prepared for the next opportunity when it comes. So there are peaks and valleys, but we try very, very hard to not lay off well-trained employees, to either maybe farm them out to one of our other businesses, or do a hybrid work, stay at home kind of a model. We've over the years used what's called the sub program, supplemental unemployment bursary, where we intentionally pay in addition to what EI pays an employee, we'll top it up to kind of send the message like, when the time comes, we need you back. Like, there's no need for you to look for work elsewhere. We like you enough that not only will we allow you to collect unemployment, but we'll pay you in addition to that. So it's a really, really good program the government has set up for companies that have more of a cyclical kind of a workflow, to allow for those employees to come right back to the company when the need is there.
What percentage of your workforce in a feast season could be those other subcontractors? Is that like 15%? Is that 25%?
No, it's likely closer to 50-60%.
Okay,
Yeah.
so here's the question.
we'll run a large project management type of a company with a lot of the work being done by subcontractor or contractor crews.
Got it.
Yeah.
So the values that are near and dear to you, how do you sustain and ensure that there is not dilution of your values when 50 or 60%, they're cowboys. They're used to going rogue, and they may or may not share the values that are so close to your heart. So how do you retain some sense of consistency?
That's a work in progress. Some of it would be we continue to teach and model the Epic way. Like, this is how we do it. This is how we do it. If you want to work for us. And so one of the things we tell them is, like, we never commit to being, we don't buy business. We don't buy crews. We don't come along and tell them we'll pay you more than you're making right now. What we do is we tell them you're going to be cared for. You're going to get consistent work. We're a large company. We'll probably have work remaining when the next guy who's paying you more than we are doesn't have work remaining. So you stay loyal to us. We'll stay loyal to you.
Yeah.
We have gatherings, social events that we put together for our subcontractor crews as well. So we treat them like family. We treat them like employees, even though they aren't employees.
Yep.
Then we're constantly reinforcing how it is that we want to take care of all of our customers, and we're each other's customers as well. My employees are my customer. I'm their customer, as well as you, the homeowner, is our customer. So we try to. I wouldn't say that that's an easy thing. Like, that's definitely where it can break down. And so if they don't kind of fly the epic flag, then we do replace them.
Sure.
And so we have some very long-standing loyal crews that get what we are and who we are, and want to stick with us because we actually create value and have a long view of things. And so there's when you talk about the feast famine of like a significant hailstorm, it's a lot of companies that pop up overnight and they pop down overnight as well.
I bet.
And so we remain fixed. One of our guarantees to our customers is we fix every problem we have. We never walk away from our problems. We'll fix every problem we have. You can trust us and depend on us, and that's why we're here. Because insurance companies depend and trust on us to do that as well. Yeah.
I'm hearing that partnering is just a part of your DNA. And so when I think about partnering, I just think about two people who are standing for each other's success, or two people holding out for each other's highest good. So doing that with those subcontractors, doing that with those people you bring from the Philippines, doing that with the leaders who you've onboarded, it feels to me like partnering is part of the ethos of what you are bringing to the world.
Respecting people, right? Like these aren't tools. These are real people with real families, with real stories that matter to their day to day, and because they matter to them, they matter to us as well. So we try to be as relational as we can and help them understand that they're not just a gun for hire, that we genuinely do care about the rest of their life as well. And so I think a relational DNA bleeds through.
Yeah.
And our staff, model that as well.
There's a group of leaders around you, and I think you've sold some software, estimating software, to a large organization in the States that has set some of your younger leaders, I'm going to say younger, in their 40s, to be very significantly successful financially. Could you tell us a little bit about that story? Because I think it's a remarkable thing from what I see in leadership circles.
Yeah, we launched a software company. One of my partners was the catalyst behind this. But at the time, he was our sales manager, and just in our passion to continuously create improvement, he brought to the table going, guys, I think the stuff off the shelf just doesn't quite speak to our customers the way we want to. And so he hired a couple of programmers, and we just created a software that we used just for our own clientele for a couple of years. And by virtue of those few years of Petri dish experience, my partner realized that there was something here that maybe could be helpful to the market. And so we went through the risky startup phase of bootstrapping our own tech company and our own software, knowing full well that maybe 1 in 10 actually stick and make it. And we might be the 9 of 10, but we were okay with it because we were making ourselves better in the midst of doing this, in the process of doing it. And so one thing led to another, and it was a viable product that took the market by storm, and had a good, solid 5-year, intense elevator type, growth story to it.
Right.
And then we ended up selling it to a strategic, and so it's a very, very good happy ending story within our circles here. So,
and just for
but
context,
I think we just believed we were willing to take risks.
Yeah.
With each other, but we weren't gonna go bigger than life. And so we went slow. We didn't ask for any seed money. We didn't ask for any outside investors. We bootstrapped the whole thing ourselves. We're able to remain in control. We're able to create a runway where my partner could build this business the way he envisioned it being built, without having to worry about some private equity group giving him marching instructions that didn't make sense for the value of the company. Yeah, so we were very, very fortunate to be able to exit with a solid success story around it.
And just for context, so we're doing the same thing, building an app, and I've got a figure in my head about, a 5-year journey, but are we talking hundreds of thousands of dollars? Are we talking tens of thousands of dollars? When you talk about bootstrapping it and just putting the money in,
right?
Was that a big, was that a small, hiring some tech people to be doing software programming, et cetera?
Yeah, like it's a bit of a challenging story in the tech sector because if you got a viable product, you have to staff it up typically faster than what the money comes in. But we were never offside in terms of in the red by more than probably a couple $100,000.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, over the course of time. But you have to. So we went from one staff to 35 in 5 years. So that's a
Wow.
fairly significant staffing type of a scale up.
Yeah.
But we did choose like where other some of our not competitors but others in the same space, might go out to market and try and raise a couple of million of seed money or startup money.
Yep.
We took a bit more of the slower route, and
Mhm.
by virtue of that, it percolated and grew fast, but in a healthy kind of a speed for us to stay on top of it.
Yeah. And can you still use that software yourself or not?
Absolutely. Yeah. We
Yeah.
still use it all day long. Every one of our
Yeah.
businesses uses it, and it's just integrated into our tech stack.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so I'm trying to figure out which way to go here. But as you look at the future, Merlin, you're not 20 years old anymore, and you're all about raising people up. You're all about serving people and seeing how you can contribute to other people's success. What does the next 4 to 5 years look like for you?
One of the things that we've really started to dig into is called EOS Entrepreneurial Operating System, which is not, you know, news to a lot of folks out there. It's
Yeah.
something that's been around for a while. But I think
Mhm.
the central piece to that, if you're familiar with the EOS model, typically us entrepreneurial types, find it quite natural to sit in the seat of the visionary. But it's that seat right below it, the seat of the integrator, who really causes execution to happen. That is, I think, what allows a visionary to not be the ceiling for his own business.
Right.
So we are on the search. We have 5 operating companies, and we've identified one already.
Yeah.
But our goal is to really is to find that integrator seat and fill it with the right person,
Right.
and know that will create a lot of trajectory for us going forward, as that is a pivotal role within a business. So in terms of if you're kind of angling towards succession type of
Yeah.
conversations, I think that's phase one.
Yeah.
And by virtue of having a really strong operational leader in there, it allows the visionary to cut back from having to be full time. So I think it creates a runway of being engaged, but being engaged in a few less things and doing more of what I'm best at doing, but not having to be quite as engaged in all of the operations. I would say that that's a healthy next step to not a full exit, but to be able to dial that back and bring some of those other key values of being a good granddad and some other goals that I want to accomplish in life, and not having to put those on the back burner until such a time, as retirement hits. So that's one of the answers. I think we're finding better ways to organize our companies to make it possible for some of us, graying shareholders to find a slower and more manageable exit.
Yep.
At the same time, we're always, entertaining opportunities that come along. There's no shortage of opportunities. So, both on the buy, sell, and on the sell side. So continuing to be wise and discerning those.
Yeah. When you let yourself go into visionary mode and you think about the future, what are the big dreams? What are the big visions that, if you can share them, that you might, because any one of those I could imagine would be enough work for an integrator for the next 5 years. So I can see why you don't have to be around 24/7 as a visionary. So what are those visionary things that you see?
Right. We Calgary is a fair-sized city. It's one of the larger cities in Canada, and so we think that there's still a lot of market share to be gained right in our own city.
Okay.
We are doing some innovative things, specifically in utilizing AI quite heavily within our business. And so we're
Hmm.
trying out new ways of lead generation
Yep.
and people management and process management through AI. So there's some interesting things to play there. There are some services that a full service exterior company would offer that we don't yet offer. So we're
Okay.
considering things like solar. We're
Mm.
typically in the renovation world because we're a large company that does really, really well in the processes that are required to be in place for renovations, but we don't do a lot of new construction. So
Okay.
maybe giving some thought to new construction. We do have our eyes on geographical growth as well.
Right.
So there's always 5 or 6 kind of plays in front of me. So it's the wisdom and discernment with the leadership team to decide which one needs to be honed in on and which one has the most opportunity now. But yeah, I haven't stopped dreaming of ways to continue to grow our business.
Might we see an epic pop up in Toronto
There
in
you go. There you
yeah,
go.
any of those things could happen.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So those are the things that still, get me up in the morning, get me excited to think of
Hmm.
opportunities like that.
Yeah.
Love dreaming in that space.
So the first question was what juices you, and I think you said I love to get alongside the underdog and to give people a leg up who society and life might not give such a chance to, but I am that person. And that is a fuel source for me that will take me a long way. Has that changed now that you are where you are and you can kind of see, yeah, I want to be a great granddad. And, I'm a grandfather too. And part of
Hmm.
what I think about is all I really care about is at the end of it, I can ask myself, did I love well?
Right.
Will my grandchildren say, yeah, I know what love is because of my grandpa. So
Sure.
that's a fuel source for me.
Right.
As you're now in this phase of being a grandfather and watching your kids become more and more successful in the world, has your fuel source shifted at all? And if so, what would that be?
Yeah, I think it's fairly core to who I am. Maybe the time amount that I give to it might change, but I don't think the value in essence changes. And when I say I, it means we, because our business isn't. I'm not a sole leader here. There is a strong shareholder group that are aligned and arms are linked, and
Yep.
and we have a passion for innovation, and we're probably one of the more exciting things is in the last year we've taken a minority position of a very exciting product that's out there called Rashfalt, with a young entrepreneur that was just great timing for where he was at with that business to match with a larger company like ours with some strong experience in back office. And so it's not something we control, but it's something that we serve and bless and benefit and live into. Um, so I still get excited when I go on site there and I see how many, again, new internationals are working on
Wow.
site. So I think that
Wow.
part, I'll probably take that to my grave with me,
I bet you.
is the
I bet you
ability,
will.
the passion to see others win. Like it's so thrilling to see others win and succeed and be able to provide for their families and provide for families that might be overseas that don't have the opportunity for employment like their, nephew or son or daughter has.
Totally. I've
Yeah.
had the privilege of having somebody when I was bonking in marathons, Merlin, at the 35K mark, and just I would have always finished, but it was always horrible. You would go, to what end, Brady? But then one day somebody ran me in, a friend of mine. He said, I'll meet you at 35 and I'll run you into the finish.
Oh,
Uh,
cool.
yeah, and so that was the day that my dream came true of qualifying for the Boston Marathon, which was a crazy dream. The reason I
Right.
share that is it's one thing to be run into a strong finish. It is another thing entirely to run others into a strong finish,
Yeah.
and that's a lot of what I'm hearing for you is that coming alongside and where somebody has got self-limiting beliefs, where they're stuck, where they're hitting the wall, where they're bonking, it's like, you know what, I'm going to come alongside you here and I'm going to run you and you're going to finish strong. Does that resonate with
Great,
you?
great picture. I love that picture. Right. To run along and help others succeed and hopefully greater than what we've succeeded.
Right.
Like that would really be the win to go. I participated in helping you reach further than I was ever able to reach, and that's what a dad does, right? So I would say that there's a dad heart, both for my own kids and for all of our employees. Like that, I really want to see you succeed and reach further than you think you can, and maybe even reach further than I think you can. We'll both be positively and pleasantly surprised at that one.
Last thing I want to ask you is, I think you know how to celebrate well. And I feel like in the last year or two, there have been company get-togethers that they are, I'm just going to, use the word epic, because I think they really, no, they really are, from what I've heard. But could you just give me a sense, give our listeners a little bit of a sense of what perhaps the last one was, and what kind of things go on at those types of get-togethers?
Yeah, when you live inside of them, they don't maybe sound that exciting or wild or crazy. So, I mean, we've just tended to, like, one of the things we've always tried to do is party and celebrate in such a way that people feel like we see their kids as well. And so we try, like, even so what we do is we rent the zoo every year for a Christmas party.
Okay.
And so although the big banquet is in the evening, anyone who wants to take kids or grandkids or anyone for a day at the zoo, it's on us.
Okay.
And so that happens during the day, and we've got it now. A bunch of oil and gas companies kind of bailed during COVID, and so we snagged a very prime location, and we've kept it ever since. So we get the Saturday, and so they all get to on us, have a really fun family day at the zoo, bring their kids home, get the babysitter set up, come back and do a lovely, about banquet meal together. And we love giving a lot of gifts away at that point. We share a lot of our profit with employees. I mean, we do a lot of little things. I don't know. It's not like we've taken everyone to the moon or anything, but sometimes we try to do food. We often do food trucks at our shop and just go, hey, here comes the taco truck. Come and let's sit around outside and grab a taco together. So I think we try to celebrate kind of ongoing that way. So I'm not sure if you're referring to anything else.
No. That's exactly the kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, like one of the things we do, and you know this, Brady, because he's a good friend of yours as well. We do something that most other, even large construction companies scratch their heads and go, you do what? But we've hired like a chief culture officer.
Yeah.
And so like a construction company typically doesn't kind of function in that kind of sphere. That might be, what banks do or insurance companies or investment groups. But we so value our culture that one of our senior executives actually is responsible for building, maintaining, managing, growing, extending a culture that we built right from the get-go and making sure that it continues to go in that direction.
We've had the privilege of having him on the podcast, Todd.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a massive commitment. And obviously it's paying off.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Merlin, I want to thank you for sharing some beautiful values, and they're bone deep for you. I can tell that. And some of the lessons you've learned along the way, and how it is that you bring people along and, again, run them in really strong to the finish line. So thank you for sharing with our listeners today. If people want to find out more about you, I think it's just Epic Companies.
Merlin at Merlin at epicroofing.ca.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and just Epic Group of Companies or Epic Roofing. We're a hodgepodge of companies, but you can find us under the Epic Group.
Lovely. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you I know you got a lot of things to do every single day, and it's not lost on me that you invested in our listeners today. So thank you so much for that, Merlin.
Thank you, Brady. Appreciate the time being with you.
Yeah.